I went to the gym today, and over the last couple of days, I've been getting really bored with the music that's been selected by YouTube Music for me. So I've been just saying, like, play this artist, play that artist. And I got to tell you, man, I had the best workout I've had in probably 3 years. And I just asked it, play Nas. Do you remember Nas?
Yes, I do.
Dude, it still holds up really hard. But the cool thing is I was looking at it from a different perspective. When I grew up in the 90s listening to Nas, it was like, "Holy, this is amazing, amazing lyrics, like really cool perspective on what he's saying." He's a genius. He might be the best ever. Very underappreciated by many generations. But now I'm looking at it as a father and a business owner, and it's like when I hear the words, I'm like, one of the songs, I know I am. Or I think that's what it's called. I know I can, something like that.
Okay.
I was looking at it through my daughter's eyes, like, oh
Mm.
my god, I need to play this song for my daughter. It's so weird. I think I'm gonna play a 9-year-old a Nas song, but she's mature enough to handle the lyrics.
Yeah, it's funny because my kids too, there's songs from the '90s and the early 2000s that they listen to, and it's like, wow, they like those songs, and it's like they're singing them and they're listening to them. They're singing stuff like from I'm I don't remember like Britney Spears from early on. Like it's crazy the things that they attach themselves to.
There.
But it's interesting.
You
Like
took a left
I
turn
go,
though. What I'm you took a left turn there. I'm gonna get back on track of what I was saying.
yeah.
What I'm saying is, like, I'm looking at this from a different perspective now. This song, I had an amazing workout because the music's great, but as I listen to the lyrics, I'm thinking about it as a father and as a business owner. And a
Interesting.
lot of the lyrics that he says are in line with both of those phases of growth, right? And
Hmm.
that's where we are. That's as people, as business owners, as fathers, as business partners, as all the things that we do. We're in this phase of growth, and that's where many of our clients are. And sometimes you just need to like hear things in a different way.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you need to hear a different thing. You need to hear it in a different way. And most of the people that we work with who are accidental CEOs trying to become this intentional CEO, they're just switching from one phase of their career to another phase of their career. And, they were building this thing, they were creating this opportunity to do business with other people. And now they've done that. And they're moving into a phase of where, like, I now have to run a business. And they've heard these things in the past, and maybe it didn't resonate then. They've heard certain things. And if they just have an opportunity to hear it, looking through this new lens or see
Mhm.
it looking through this new lens of where they're at now, it may resonate with them harder, differently. It may motivate them. It may make them realize something. And that's what's going on with most of our clients. It's when we're telling them things or showing them things, it's not new.
Right.
It's just
Right.
that they're experiencing it in a different light. And that's what happened today in the gym, and that's what we watch happen to many of our clients.
Right.
There's even sometimes with our clients, we would have said something to them a year ago, and we'll say it to them again now, and it just hits differently because they've entered into this whole new phase as they're building this business. And that's what it's about. When you're building a business, it's all about different phases of your maturation of being a business owner. And yeah, it starts with like building a product and having sales and building a team and managing finances. And there's all these different phases. And when you enter each phase, you've changed. That means you may need to look at things you once were doing because they're going to hit you much differently. It doesn't mean you need to rip up the script and start all over again. It means you need to look at the script from the new perspective that you have.
I think too, it's you have to recognize that timing really is everything. Because I think sometimes we have selective hearing versus selective listening, right? Like to use the idea of a song and what happens is you start singing along to that song, you're hearing the lyrics, but you're not really listening to what the lyrics are saying like you experienced this morning, and you're looking at it now from a very different perspective. And I think a lot of times especially newer business owners, you get caught up in all of the noise and you just hear things, but you're not really listening to certain things at a specific time. And when and this is when we repeat ourselves over and over, right? We say the same things, we tell our clients very similar things, but depending on where they are in their journey is when they are sometimes able to receive that message and actually listen to what that message and perspective is. Up until that point, they're just hearing us or they're just hearing things. But until they're actually ready to look at it from a different perspective, because it's part of their growth, right? What is a growth mindset? It's being able to ask questions and get new perspective on things and take in those perspectives. But if you don't stop and recognize that you're in a certain place right now and this is the time to listen, I think you continue to struggle even further, right? When people get caught up in that noise of overwhelm and stress, they stop listening and they're only just hearing. It's like the Charlie Brown, wah, 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 right? And they're not digesting what you're saying. But when something finally hits them, it's like it was there all along. I just didn't listen to it. And that's the thing I think most newer business owners struggle with is that they want to hear everything because they want to learn all this stuff, but they're not listening to it specifically and they're not getting what they're supposed to get out of it. Like, I've had experiences where I've coached people for a while, and then all of a sudden they come to me saying, I heard this thing, and it's the same exact thing we've been telling them for 6 months to a year, but now they are ready to listen. And it actually helps them to propel themselves forward because the time is now to listen and to take that new perspective.
And a lot of people do say timing is everything, and I think it's kind of bullshit because it has been there all along. It's not timing that's everything, it's your ability to translate the information that's everything.
Hmm.
And what happens is you learn a new language as you grow in business. You just understand things differently. And when you're first starting out, you have no way to understand what someone is going through. And then when you get there and you're experiencing it, it's like, oh, I get it now, right? It's like when people have a baby, you can't explain being a mother or a father. It's just when it happens, you just understand it. It's the same in business. It's
Hmm.
the same exact thing in business. You're learning a new language, the language of you, the language of your clients, the language of your business, the language of your employees, the language of your personal life when you start becoming a millionaire. And that's the thing. Timing is not everything. It's really, can you understand the language that everybody around you is speaking now?
And that I think is one of your most powerful metaphors, analogies that you can go with. It is learning a new language. And we know when people get stressed out, they prefer to speak in their native language. And if that native language is non-business, we'll call it the non-business language, you get caught up in that, and that doesn't allow you to hear anything in the business language because you're so taken over by the stress of it and the overwhelm of it that you just want to speak the way you've always been speaking. You don't want to speak in a new way. And I think that's a really important thing that a lot of newer business owners do struggle with is they don't recognize that they have learned a new language. And when they're stressed, and this is why they go back to their sabotaging habits, and this is why their sabotaging habits become more or they become louder because that is their native language, right? The sabotaging habits, the limiting beliefs, all of those things that you've grown up with and encountered along the way and have used as coping mechanisms, that is your native language. And when you go into business and you learn this new language, those those things become very, very, very confusing to you. So you really have to learn how to filter through what is the new way versus what is the old way. And you, like we say in our book, chapter 2, you have to surrender to that new language. And if you don't surrender to it, you're never going to make the progress that you would hope to make because you've got to become fluent now in that language. And the only way to become fluent is to immerse yourself, right? I know a lot of people who study languages, they go and immerse themselves in the countries and the cultures that speak that language so they can become more fluent and become more understanding. And that's what your business is, what you're doing in your business is you're becoming immersed in a new culture, in a new country, and you have to that's the only way you're gonna gain the fluency that you need to really understand, and then you'll be able to finally listen to what is coming in that language to you.
Yeah. And many times when you're moving from one phase to another, many times when you're building your business, you think you have to learn new things and you really don't. You have to be reminded of the things you once learned. And if you can go back and look at what you once learned in this new light, you will find that it's more useful. It has more utility in your business now. There were things that you learned at that moment that went over your head, and now they won't. They'll punch you in the face, and you'll be like, oh, that's what I have to do. So that's really why many times when we're helping clients, we're not trying to teach them new stuff. We're trying to
Mm-mm.
relearn what they already know.
Mhm. Yeah, it's listen, you cannot be a business owner unless you're willing to learn. You can't come out of a career or a job and decide that, "Oh, I'm gonna be a business learner and things are just gonna magically happen." It's a whole new education. It is, it's on the job, literally on the job training for yourself. And if you don't give yourself the space and you don't give yourself the ability to be open to receiving what's coming to you, what new information you're gonna gather, what you're gonna learn, then you're not in the right doing the right thing for yourself. Then go back to being an employee, because employees have tasks to do and they don't necessarily have to learn new things. They'll learn new processes and procedures, but it's a different type of learning. It's a very tactical learning where in business and starting your own business, you are learning not just tactics, but you're learning new ways of thinking. You're learning new ways of exploring. You're learning new ways of questioning things that you have never done before. And you become, and I think a lot of business owners would agree, it really requires so much more analytic skill than you probably have ever used in your entire life. And I know for me, like the last 7 years has been one of the best educations I've ever gotten. And it didn't come from a textbook. It didn't come from school. It didn't come from anything other than me learning by making the mistakes that I've had to make and doing things over and over again to learn what the best way to do things is. And you have to be open and willing to be able to do that.
Well, you know that That's an interesting point because you know the saying that I've had many, many times, which is do the thing. But do the thing is for people that are building an income stream. When you're building a business, it's not about doing the thing, it's about deciding the things that someone else is going to do. Right,
Mhm.
and that is where the analytics and understanding this new philosophy of how do you think and how do you decide and then how do you delegate. And yes, you're still going to do things, but not those old things that helped you generate the revenue in actually providing the income stream. You're going to build a business that allows other people to generate that revenue. And what that requires is you moving into a phase of your life where you can really confidently and with clarity make decisions to move the business forward way before it needs to move forward. It's no more reaction, it's more proactive. You're thinking in the future of what the business, the employees, the clients, and you need to have that success.
Yeah, you're right. The vision, like we talk about with all of our clients when they go through our simple focus system, is what is the vision for your life and your business, because then all the decisions stem from that vision. And that's what you're talking about, is being able to have a clarity and a confidence around the decision on the things that need to occur, because if you don't have the clarity, if you don't have the vision, you don't get any of that, and then you're just wandering around in the dark and feeling your way through things. And that's where a lot of people become confused in their new language, because they're just trying to figure it out and feel around for stuff, and then they don't, because they didn't have the vision, they didn't have the understanding. Like when you decide to go into business for yourself, really know why you're doing this. Don't do this because you know you can do it better. just because you could do it better than the current boss that you're working for, or that you can change things to make it better for other people. You have to understand why you are really doing this, because if you don't know why you're doing this, you are going to walk around in the dark a lot, and you're not going to learn the new language that you need to learn. So setting yourself up with the right intention, and that's where I always go back to, is what's the intention of your business? Is your business something that you want to support a lifestyle? Is it a job that you want to just give yourself? Or is it something you really want to build and invest in and grow and have a team and have people and make a company, quote unquote, a company out of it? Like, what is your main intention? Because all of those have different languages, right? Well, let's just say they have different dialects of the same business language, right? So it's you have to learn what that language is that you want to speak. And if you just want something to support your lifestyle, then you need to know that that's what you're trying to create. And then you decide everything from there, because that's the vision, right? You decide how much you want to make every month. You decide how much you need to make on the year. You decide how you're going to pay for things. You're going to decide if you're going to hire people at different points. But it's understood because you know what the vision is. If you're gonna build a company, well, that's a very different language that you're gonna have to learn. So, knowing exactly what you wanna do and what the vision is will help you to learn the new language even better, and you will go through less periods of confusion.
I'm going to challenge you on that. So
Okay.
I think when people are finally moving into being a business owner, not just, hey, I figured out a way to generate income being self
Mhm.
employed. When people move into being that business owner, many of the times they have forgotten why they got into this business and they get really soft. And they get soft thinking they could be like, oh, well, now I'm going to live my passion and now I'm going to live my life. And they get soft and they forget the absolute violence it takes to build a business. Like, you're going hard in the beginning. You're disciplined, you're grinding it out. It doesn't change when you now say I'm going to build a business. You still have to come at it that exact way with that type of intensity. Like, you can't start dreaming off in left field like you're sitting on the beach with a mai tai saying, "Oh, okay, well now I'm going to, live my purpose." You should have started that way with the addition of saying, okay, but I have to attack this every single day with really aggressive patience. It takes time to build these things, but you need to be aggressive at all phases of building your business. And too many people are getting soft. They get a little bit of success and they think they can sit back and relax and like, this is cool and I like what I'm doing. But no, 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 that's not how it works. You have to keep the intensity all the way through to the finish line, and you're not finished, are you? If you are, sell the business.
Right. I don't think you ever finish, honestly. I think you gotta keep going. And you're right. It is extremely violent. It is the hardest work you are ever going to do in your life. This is the hardest thing I've ever done. I mean, I know for me, the hardest thing, and I practice medicine, and this is harder than that. And it's harder than that because you have to be so self-reliant to motivate yourself, to be disciplined, to do things. Luckily, I have a partner that helps with that, right? And Adam and I work together and we keep each other motivated. But you can be motivated, but if you don't have something as a direction to stay motivated towards, you lose that motivation. You have to recognize that when it gets hard and it gets difficult to do things, that you just have to stay motivated and keep working through it. That's the grit we talk about. It's the perseverance. And you really have to build grit and be very determined to persevere through all of the struggles and pass through all of the obstacles, not jump over, not go around, but go through the obstacles that you face so that you can get to where you're trying to go. And if you're not committed, and this is why we talk about our CEO mindset all the time, you have to have commitment and you have to have obsession, because without the obsession, you don't have the commitment. And without the commitment, you don't put in the effort. And if you are going to be a CEO of your business, if you're going to run a company, you have to be a CEO who embraces that CEO mindset because it requires so much discipline and commitment to putting in the work every single day. Every single day. There is no weekend for business owners. Not in the beginning. No way, because you're doing most of it yourself. And I think the hardest thing that I've encountered is that you go from working in a job and having the weekends to yourself to do whatever else you want to do. And when you become a business owner, you lose that. So you have to make sure you stay committed to what the intention is of why you're doing all this. Because if you don't, that commitment is pretty weak and turns into something you're just interested in doing.
You know, one of the biggest problems new business owners have is lying to themselves that tomorrow is going to be better. Next month is going to be better. Next week is going to be better. It's not. Like, it is not going to get better. It only gets worse every single day. If it ever gets better, you become complacent and then you just kind of sit at a plateau and you don't grow. And I don't know any business owners that are just trying to get to a plateau and never grow. I mean, look at the stock market, right? It's every year we want more growth. They don't just say, okay, we're good. That's it. No. And your small company is going to be the same way. You're not going to stop growing. So that means tomorrow will not be good. You're going to have more problems to handle. They're going to be bigger problems. They're going to be more complex problems. They're going to be higher revenue generating problems, but it's definitely not going to get better. So, as a new business owner, if you think it's getting better, go get a job because you have to be able to deal with the pain and anguish every single day of going through this thing, knowing that you're the person that can make today better. But it ain't going to guarantee tomorrow's going to be better because it shouldn't be better.
Right, and we're not saying not to celebrate your wins and recognize the things that you are doing and accomplishing, but what we're saying is don't let those become the last thing that you do every day. You gotta move on to what's the next thing, right? Take the moment to celebrate, but then it's right on to the next game, right? Like we don't we it's okay, great. We have a saying in baseball, go win the inning, right? You won the inning, okay? You won the top half of the inning, you scored some runs. Now go win the rest of the inning. But we celebrated when we scored the runs. We had a good time when we scored the runs, but the next time we go back out on that field, we have to continue to win the inning. And that's what you have to continue to do in your business. Yeah, you may have scored some great runs. You may have gotten a great client. You probably, got maybe the biggest client you ever got before, and you just sat back for a second and you enjoyed it. But some people who are not committed or see that as better, they stop pursuing and then they don't get any other clients and they don't get sell more of their services. They don't continue going forward. And that's what you have to be able to do. So don't take it that we're not telling you to celebrate it. Celebrate it, enjoy it, but don't stop doing what you're doing that made that happen. Because if you stop doing what made that happen, you're going to screw yourself massively and you will be out of business faster than you got into it.
Okay, now you want to give them good advice? Say the same thing the other way around when shit goes wrong. It's the same thing, but say it. Say it the same way you did, but now when something goes wrong.
Yeah, when something goes wrong, you gotta recognize that it went wrong, evaluate why it went wrong, and then pick yourself back up and start over and keep going. Because if you don't start over, you're never gonna move forward and you're not gonna learn the lessons. There is no such thing as failure. I've said this 100 times. There's no such thing as failure if you learn something from it. And that's when it's bad, when it's really bad and you've screwed up and business is not good. And listen, there's a lot of you out there right now in 2025, we're in June. This time of our country has been very tough for people, but it's because they're giving into the noise of what's tough and they're giving into that. So they're stop doing what they normally do. And things are really bad right now for a lot of people because you stopped doing what you were supposed to do. So what? It's tough. A lot of people are still making a lot of money, but you can't give in to the noise of what's happening around us. You have to keep going out there and winning the inning. And when you didn't win the top half of the inning, you got to go win the bottom half and keep going so that you can achieve what it is you're trying to do.
Listen, a simple way I heard this was from a movie called Any Given Sunday. A guy made a really bad play on the field, and the coach calls him over and he says, be a goldfish, right? And what it means is you have to be a goldfish of your memory and forget it. Actually, I don't think this was Any Given Sunday. This was Ted Lasso.
Was oh, yes,
I
Ted
saw this
Lasso,
on the
yes.
show yeah, I saw this on the
Yeah.
show Ted Lasso, where the coach calls him over, made a bad play, and he's like, "Be a goldfish." You know, what that meant was he made a bad play, you gotta forget about it really, really quick because a goldfish has a very, very short memory, but you gotta do that on your wins too. You gotta be a goldfish on your wins too. Nothing's guaranteed to go right, nothing's guaranteed to go wrong without your activity and actions and decisions when you become the CEO. So just because it went right doesn't mean the next time it's gonna happen unless you do the thing necessary, and that's why you gotta have this goldfish memory. You can celebrate it, you can cry about it, and then move on and do the next activity that's gonna get you either the next success or the next failure, and that's what it's all about. Progress, persistence, moving through this game that we call business.
And boy, is it a game.
All right, pal, let's wrap it up.
All right, so listen, if you are looking for some support, we have so many great things happening. We have our Accidental CEO interactive workshop coming up. We're going to be doing these 3 times a month online and once in person. We really want to help people out there that are struggling and trying to figure it out and trying to learn how to speak a new language, but they have no one that speaks that language in their universe. So check out our Accidental CEO interactive workshop. We'll put the link in the show notes to sign up for it, but definitely check it out. We're going to go through very simple questions that will help you to identify exactly what you need to do as your next steps in your business so that you can get yourself unstuck or help yourself to start to learn the language. So check us out. You could always go to atomicbusinesscoaching.com. Listen, we got a new and sexy website that Adam spent a lot of time on this past weekend, just explaining a little bit more about what we do, what we are as accidental CEOs, and what that all means. So check it out, see if you connect to that, and reach out to us, set up a time to chat. If not, definitely come to our free workshops, and we'll see you soon.